Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory release, as we've got the 2024 Advent Calendar, which is really exciting. I always enjoy the Advent Calendars, and as you can see, we've got 24 days of fun. As far as the packaging goes, you've got quite a few different images of different dinosaurs like Bumpy, Atrociraptors, the Allosaurus, and T-Rex. Unfortunately, it looks as though mine has, as far as the packaging goes, has sustained a little damage right there in typical Amazon fashion because they really don't care too much about the safety of the package. But if you turn it around, you have kind of a sneak peek here at the back of everything that would or should be included with this set. And we will, of course, check this out as we go. So let's pop the box open and check everything out from there. So here is the entire package now. And again, completely unboxed. We can very clearly see there are like instructions and stuff back there. You can also see a bit of a sneak peek of all of the different dinosaurs that are included in this set. We definitely have a few different repaints in here that actually look pretty cool. And overall, the set as a whole, I think, looks nicer than I was expecting. It has 2 Majungasaurus in it, which I also didn't expect, but definitely really fun. So I think at this point, I'm going to pull everything out, and then we'll just jump straight to a closer look and check out all of the different figures from there. So starting with the very first dinosaur that we have in this set, you can see we have the Majungasaurus. Now this looks to be the same Majungasaurus that we had in the recent Target exclusive. There was like a 20 pack, I think, of dinosaur figures. I forget if it was 20 or what, but there was a set that I had reviewed that had many different minis in it. This looks to be the same Majungasaurus that is in that set, which is good because that now means that I have a second that I can actually repaint. But what's cool is we also have this version. We have 2 different Majungasaurus, so we already have a new paint variant for it. And as you can see, we've got ourselves a very cool looking one, which is almost the same as the first one, but very different as far as the tones go. But you can see we basically have a black for this one, or a very dark gray, and then we have a yellow patterning. The patterning starts in the neck and leads back to the hip region before disappearing. You can see it is in the throat and everything. We do also have painted eyes, which you can see there's basically like a little spot that's been applied to give us some eye paint, which is nice. Something that we don't always get when it comes to the minis is eye paint, and I was really happy to see that present on quite a few of the minis in the Target set, so definitely happy to see it on this one as well. And if you bring up the other one, you can see basically what the two look like in comparison to each other. Very similar, again, just a little bit different as far as like the tones of color, of course, go. And there's also more patterning on the actual kind of greenish version, whereas there's a little less on the darker version. We also have a Stegosaurus in this set. Now, I think every figure in here is a reused sculpt, so overall everything would just be either re-released figures or repaints. In this one, we have like a bluish tone, like a bluish gray. You also have a darker gray that runs along the plates up there, and then a lighter gray up in the plates. And you can see how the darker tone kind of like stripes up, almost like flames up into the lighter grays of the plates, which looks really cool. Outside of that, I don't notice anything. Like you can see, there's no eye paint or anything for the Stegosaurus, so there's not a whole lot going on as far as coloration on this one, but it's pretty fun for what it is. There is articulation, though. You can see you can move the tail left and right, and yes, you can swivel it like you usually can. So not the greatest Stegosaurus, but he's okay. But we do also have the Kentrosaurus, and this Kentrosaurus is basically looking similar to the original version as far as the overall coloration goes. I don't really notice too much as far as this one goes that's different from the way it looked before. If I remember correctly, it's been a little while since I had seen the Mattel Mini Kentrosaurus, but as far as the coloration goes, we have like a lighter tone for most of the body, and then you have this darker brown that kind of leads back from the neck and then up and over the back, again ending in the hip region. But it's a pretty cool figure. Definitely nice to see the Kentrosaurus come back. It's been a little while since we had seen this one. You can also see there is actually some eye paint, just a little dot again with a light tone that's been applied to the eyes. So at least 2 of the... Wait, actually, I think the one Majungasaurus didn't... Oh, no, actually, all the Majungasaurus did have eye paint. So 3 of the 4 so far have had eye paint, which is nice. But a pretty cool Kentrosaurus, just nothing amazing with that one. We do also have the Ceratops, but this one looks like it's the exact same figure that we had in the recent Mattel minifigure set from Target, so I don't really notice any differences. Again, the black paint for the eyes, green for the body, orange around the face. You've got a light creamy tone there for the horn, and then some light green patterning through. You do also have the articulation of the neck, which can go down really nicely and up pretty nicely, and then that can swivel, so that allows some really nice posability in that area for the Mini. But nothing really too much to go over about that one. It looks to be the same figure that we just had. Then we've also got the T-Rex. The T-Rex does look a little different as far as the tones go. If I remember correctly, we do have a nice brownish tone for the Rex. You can also see a dark gray that kind of starts at the bottom of the neck, basically approaching the shoulder area, and then stripes down a little bit past the hip region, heading into the tail before disappearing. You do also have a lighter tone moving along the underside briefly, starting in the upper stomach area there, under the chest, and then moving down here into the tail before disappearing. The T-Rex does have an articulated jaw, and you can also see there is a black spot, I think, there we go, applied for the eyes. Just basically a little spot there. But it is pretty cool to see the T-Rex again. Obviously one of the favorites in the Jurassic franchise, and I actually quite like the colors of that one. We've also got the Pteranodon again, and this looks to be the exact same Pteranodon that we just had in the other minifigure sets. So nothing really to go over with this one either. Wasn't really too enthused with this guy the last time because it looks like it's the same Pteranodon we've actually had quite a few times. And I think the Mosasaurus is probably the same figure or very similar. We basically have a dark gray moving along the back of the Mosasaurus. You can see the eyes are painted. Well, actually the eye is completely missed on that side. Let's take a look at the other side. Yeah, it's a little better over here. But you have a dark bluish tone moving along the back, kind of like a dark bluish gray. Then you have a brighter blue here, and then a lighter tone like a gray moving along the underside. And you can see that gray is also here in the lower jaw. I kind of feel like maybe the coloration was a little bit different on the Mini from the last set, but still an okay looking Mosasaurus. You don't have any paintwork for the inside of the mouth, but you do have an articulated jaw, as per usual. And we also have another Ceratopsian in here, as we have the Nudoceratops back again, and you can see we've got a light gray for this one, also a strong speckling moving through the course of the entire body. You can see like a black speckling. You've got some red moving along the back. You also have red up here in the frill, and you can see that patterning all over up there. You can also see the horns are painted with a light yellowish tone, and it doesn't look like we have eye paint, unfortunately. I was actually kind of hoping we would, because I don't think this one had eye paint previously, so it would have been nice to have one that did have some eye paint, but it is still a super cool Nudoceratops. You can see you can still swivel the neck and then move it up and down just like we could with the Sinoceratops. And we've also got an Atrociraptor. This Atrociraptor has a really cool light lime green color moving along the back of the body. Some dark browns here in the head. They kind of stripe down the neck and then run along the side of the body, moving out into the tail. And then you have like an off-white for the lower body. That's really about it. You do have like a black for the eyes. So you can see they kind of tried to paint the eyes. It's a little sloppy, but definitely another pretty cool looking version of the Atrociraptor, and I believe it is a little bit different from the previous versions. We've also got a green Atrociraptor in here as well, which has a light tone there in the snout, the lower jaw, and then coming up into the snout. You can also see for the eyes as well. Looks to be like the same tone of color, I think, as to what we have here patterning through, and you can see that also runs down the neck and then out into the tail a little ways. No other coloration. There is actually a speckling, which you can see on this one as well, like a black or a dark gray speckling. And that's really about it for this one as well. Again, the Atrociraptors are the same reused sculpt we've had many times. I don't think there is any difference between any of the Atrociraptors as far as the sculpts go, basically just repaints. We also have Atrociraptor Ghost, but this one looks, for some reason, a little different as far as the way that the patterning looks. More of like a striping moving down, and you can see the eyes are basically given a black tone and or a dark brown tone, and there's a little speckling moving throughout the course of the figure, but that's probably one of the lazier, more lackluster Atrociraptor Ghost figures I think I've seen. And then we've also got this one with, again, a light tone for the lower body, a green, but not quite as vibrant of a green as we saw in the other one, up here for the upper body, and then more dark brown patterning. You can see quite a bit of the patterning here in the face. The eyes, again, have a little bit of like a spot for the eye, but it's kind of all blending together with the dark patterning that you see through the course of the body. And again, that's really all you have going on for that Atrociraptor. But I really do quite like the Atrociraptor squad we have here. Very cool as far as the colors chosen. There is as well a Baryonyx in here, and you can see the Baryonyx also has a kind of like a light grayish tone for the body, and then blue running down the top of the snout, down through the neck, all the way past the hip region, and then disappearing before we reach the tail. And then you can see there is also a speckling added to this one. And we do actually have eyes painted. The eyes are painted with a little bit of a yellow dot right there. No articulation on this one. I think we have had some Baryonyx in the past that had articulated jaws, but this one does not feature any articulation, though it is a pretty cool looking version of the Baryonyx. And we also have a pretty cool Allosaurus, because this is the first time that I can recall the Allosaurus having such dark greenish tones for the body. You have the blue and stuff here that you see moving up and over the back, down through the front of the thighs, down into the arms, and then out into the tail a little ways, and then a dark green tone, like a military green almost, for the rest of the body. And again, I really wish the tail was a little longer on this Allosaurus, but outside of that, I would say this is probably one of the coolest color variants we've seen. Also one of the closest to screen accurate colors I think I've seen. Like, it very much so resembles Battle at Big Rock version of the Allosaurus, which I think is the same Allosaurus we see in Chaos Theory, if I remember correctly. But again, the articulated jaw works pretty nicely for this one. No eye paint, unfortunately, but I definitely like the colors of that one. We've also got a Stygimoloch, and this one looks to be the exact same figure we had in that last minifigure set. I don't notice any differences on that one at all, so we don't really need to go over that figure. Same deal for the Ankylosaurus. They should have given us a bumpy in these minis, but unfortunately we have the same one with the gray and then the green just randomly over the back, and that's really about it. Still a gorgeous sculpt, just the same figure we already had. There is also a human figure in here, and I don't know if that's Ben. It kind of looks like him, and I looked at the packaging to try to see if maybe it states if it's supposed to be Ben. I'll have to pull out the Ben from the last minifigure set that I got at some point in the near future and check to see if this is the same Ben, but you can see we basically have an orange shirt and blue pants for Ben this time around. Not as much as far as coloration goes, if it is in fact Ben anyway, but not as much on this one as far as coloration goes as we had on the other set, because like they had their shoes painted and everything, whereas this one doesn't have as much going on, but he looks alright. Definitely a fun figure. And then we've got a really neat version of the Ceratosaurus, as we've got a light green for the body and then a darker green moving over the face and then into the back. It's actually very similar to the JP3 colors, or actually I should say the JP3 color scheme, but the colors are very different. Like, you see what would normally be the red moving along the back is a darker green, and what would normally be like a light yellow or off-white is a light green for the lower part of the body, and we still have that same kind of patterning and stuff moving through. And very cool looking, honestly. I really quite like the colors of this Ceratosaurus, and I think it looks actually way better than the Ceratosaurus we had in the main line, which also featured green colors. But definitely a neat looking version. Maybe we'll see a green Ceratosaurus in Season 2 of Chaos Theory. And then we've got the Becklespinax coming back again, but a brand new color variant for it this time. As you can see, we've got a very dark brownish tone for the body of this one, and some super bright orange tones up here in the back of the neck. You can also see a little variation as what looks like maybe a slightly different tone there, kind of creeping in between the brown and orange, but it's hard to really tell. There is an orange for the eye. You can also see a light tone for the lower jaw moving down into the throat, but disappearing as it leads into the chest, and the teeth are painted on the upper jaw right there, which is really cool for these minis, and actually like nicely painted. You can see it looks pretty decent, pretty precise. The lower jaw is a light tone, so the teeth don't really look like they have any specific paintwork for them, but since it is a light tone already, it kind of works. But overall, I think the Becklespinax continues to get like the best look in each one of the sets. Obviously, this one's not quite as nice as we saw in the last set, but still a pretty cool figure. And then the final piece of the puzzle that we have here is basically just more as far as these fences and stuff go. Basically the same thing we've had in every advent calendar so far. They usually give us more of these fences, so at this point you should, if you've been collecting the advent calendars, you should have enough fence to have an entire Jurassic Park at this point, but we basically are just repeating the process as they bring them all back up. You can see like they're basically just the same thing on repeat. We don't have any gates or anything, it looks like, with this round of the fence, just basically more fence. So still pretty cool. Definitely nice to add more of these to the collection if you have, again, like I said, been collecting the advent calendars the entire time. So I somehow missed one that was sitting down here on the table. We do also have a Gallimimus in this set, which you can see basically looks like the Jurassic Park Gallimimus. It's got like the orangish brown body tones, and then you can see a patterning with, oh, you could if my camera focused on it, there you go. A patterning moving down along the back with a dark brown from the neck all the way into the tail. Doesn't look like we have eye paint or anything for this one, but I believe we have had this paint variant in the past when it comes to the Gallimimus already as well. You can see that I have built the little fence here as well. I've assembled it so you can see how that looks again put together. Also, something that, you know, I was wondering just a moment ago is this bin. You can see when it comes to the bin from the set that we got from Target, it's definitely the same figure. So this is a different paint variant of bin, just not quite as nicely painted as we saw on the figure from, again, Target, but not too bad. The only real difference looks to be the lack of paint for the shoes. That's really about it. Also, as far as the other figures, to kind of show you the difference, here is the new Becklespinax. There's the one from the Target set, obviously. The Target set version is superior as far as the paintwork. There's definitely more to it, but this version looks pretty cool as well. And then when it comes to the T-Rex, you can see the T-Rex from the new set. This one obviously sports a similar look, but different as far as the patterning and stuff, different as far as the tones as well. So definitely a different repaint for that one also. And then we've got the Allosaurus, which I said has this very cool new darker green body, whereas we have a lighter tone and a brighter blue for the other version. And this is the coloration. This one here is the coloration that we've had most times for the Mattel Allosaurus. So definitely a bigger fan of this version of the Allosaurus. And then the final one that I was curious about as far as whether it was the same or not is the Mosasaurus. And you can see it's actually a little different, but very, very subtle differences. Basically, we have like the same kind of dark tones, but the new version is a little bit darker than the older one, or than the Target exclusive set. So there is a difference in that tone of color. The blue along the side looks to be pretty much the same tone of blue, but you can also see the gray for the lower jaw is a good bit darker than the like grayish blue we had for the lower jaw on the Target version. And you can see the underside also sports a different darker tone of color like you see on the lower jaw. Similar as far as the way it's painted, but different tones of color. And that's, I think, really about it. I don't think we need to do size comparisons or anything because we obviously know the size of the Mattel minis very, very clearly up until this point. We don't really need to look at much of anything else, I think, as far as this set goes, because we've already seen like the fence and everything in the past. It's the same fence we've had numerous different times now in other advent calendars. But overall, this is actually a really fun set and definitely a very nice advent calendar. It might be one of the best advent calendars we've had so far because there was actually a lot as far as different exclusive, so far anyway, paint variants to this set that we haven't had. Like most of the time we end up getting like one new paint variant or something like that in a advent calendar. So it's like really fun to get the fence, but the dinosaurs, if you don't have them, you know, maybe it's a great deal, but if you already had them, then it's not really that exciting. But this time, again, I love the fact that Mattel has taken the effort and, you know, given us a whole bunch of different repaints for this set, and even like dinosaurs like the Becklespinax and the Majungasaurus, which are brand new figures, now already have different paint variants included in this set. And then, of course, other figures like the Allosaurus and the Atrociraptors and the Ceratosaurus is a really exciting one, I think, as far as the repaints go. So there's a lot going on as far as different paint variants in this set compared to previously released sets, making this advent calendar a whole lot more worth the money if you have been collecting the minis up until this point. And if you haven't, then it's either way a great deal because you've got a ton of super nice minis in this set. Overall, this set does retail for about $30. You can purchase it on Amazon, though it seems to be coming in and out of stock. So if you do want it, I would recommend grabbing it as soon as possible so you don't miss out on it. But I will include a link in the description to where you can grab this again if you want. So make sure you do that. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.